Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. Sinus Iridum, the apple bite, where I found the city. To the right of it, another city, many structures. As you're coming down, oh, also in here, inside the apple bite, many tunnel-like structures. These anomalies here, entrances like, PlayDoh Crater has structures in the center of them, and of course NASA's interested with these to the left of them. All this area is very industrialized, very military-like. The strip coming down here, the further you back out, the more you can see it. We'll see it later on in the video. Everyone, thanks for joining me. This morning, we're exposing the surface. What do we know about phytoplankton? And what is phytoplankton? Well, scientists agree that there's oxygen from ocean plants in every breath we take. Most of this oxygen comes from tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton that live near the water's surface and drift with the currents. Like all plants, they photosynthesize. That is, they use sunlight and carbon dioxide to make food. And what happens when they photosynthesize? A byproduct of photosynthesis is, yeah, oxygen. Well, scientists believe that phytoplankton contribute 50 to 85% of the oxygen in our Earth's atmosphere. They aren't sure because it's a tough thing to calculate, obviously, in the lab. Scientists can determine how much oxygen is produced by a single phytoplankton cell. The hard part is figuring out the total number of these microscopic plants throughout Earth's oceans. So we know there are four essential things that we need for life to exist on a planet. How would we go about terraforming a planet or trying to create an atmosphere? Guys, an extremely complex and rare set of chemical, physical, and biological chance events lead to a formation of life. And it's what happened here on Earth, they say. We may be long extinct before these conditions come about a second time, is what science is saying. But I'm not buying that. I actually do believe that an atmosphere can be created on another planet. And what would we need? Well, there are four conditions that are needed to sustain life. You need heat. We need nutrients, without a doubt, water, and organic matter. So then you have the perfect ingredient. So what you do is you bring some microorganisms there, some type of growth, so that it can start biological life. And what will happen slowly terraforming and the right level, of course. So this is why you would have to maybe get just the right temperature reading, since the moon does have ups and downs, areas dark, and you just be able to make a step across an entire step, thousands of miles at the right level of temperature for the growth to grow and to get enough heat and not to be just entirely in the cold. And then you'd be able to have life, and it would be easier and more easy to breathe on the moon. Phytoplankton in the water that's flowing on the moon is giving 50 to 85% of the oxygen to Earth, so it would be giving 50 to 85% of the oxygen to the moon's atmosphere. So very possible for us to live on the moon. So you understand? By having water on the surface of the moon, it would also bring about 50 to 85% of the moon's oxygen level. Do you understand? This would be good for the nutrients, the growth, everything. It would, at one point, you'd get rain, you'd get clouds, an atmosphere. It would continue on and on. Growth, it would help. The microorganisms would help. Everything would be terraformed ever so slowly throughout the entire moon. And the phytoplankton would in the water would give out oxygen. So if you went up into the mountains on the moon, really high up, okay, you'd probably get pretty groggy, drowsy, and faint and die and stop breathing because there wouldn't be much oxygen. Much like, for example, here on Earth, climbing Mount Everest. Now, obviously, I said 50 to 85% for the water. I'm going to have people saying, oh, you're no scientist, you can't count. No, of course, the water on the moon, unless as much as the ocean on Earth. Guys, there are too many things to take into consideration. First of all, you could fit 49 moons into our Earth. So take that for a second, and the humongous structures that we say that are on the moon, are they that humongous? Yes, they're big, but we're talking 50 times smaller than Earth. So if you were on the moon looking back at Earth, you'd see a giant ice ball, great, like the moon, and you would see an entire planet that's 4 times the size of the full moon. So, whether a planet be desolate or frozen, it doesn't matter because they say that they can bypass that. Interesting, is it not? They can bypass the spontaneous formation of life by introducing bacteria and other microorganisms into the environment of planets which boast these four key criterias, which are the chemical, as I said before, the heat, the growth, you need the water, the perfect ingredient for this to be a possibility. Amazingly, once life is there, the conditions and in the environment will become more hospitable to habit further life. Interesting. And you wonder, all these scientific experiments that they are doing, can you imagine? Um, Investigating whether organisms can survive being propelled at high speeds through a vacuum and colliding with a planetary ocean. I mean, when's the last time you thought of that? Now, I never have, but it's becoming a reality, and it gets your mind going and wondering, wait a minute, who's doing all this research? Well, every scientist in the world is, and each of them have their own little part in doing a research for a certain bacteria, etc. And no one knows the whole story because, well, that's why. Here, a strange wide separation between PlayDoh Crater and the extremities far behind it. You could see it coming down here, lots of greenery coming down underneath PlayDoh Crater. A very well defined, symmetrical, straight line. And on the other side here, not so much, but on the right side, it's incredible. Here we're looking at Cassini Crater, and it's surrounding three craters around it. The L-shaped, where we see that wall, and underneath all this speckled area inside of the L shape right here, which are many, many structures at the bottom of the moon, all this greenery, just exceptional. And you can see it very well here. It's important to think out of the box. Imagine the moon being an entire titanium frame, for example. We're just talking speculation because this is what I do. I talk about the moon. And imagine um, someone trying to put earth all over it, dirt, some kind of a dirt that will support bacteria, microorganisms, etc., life, throw some rocks down, and have some growth grow over the entire surface of this gigantic titanium ball or sphere for whatever the reason. We're talking out of the box, of course, but could you imagine that? Could you imagine that unfortunately no one would ever guess that or even believe someone mentioning that? I could hear you all laughing right now. Well, it's a possibility because nothing's impossible. And that is what's important for researchers to never rule anything out. So while we're in the area of the conversation, just imagine again, out of the box, always defending myself on the out of the box, an alien or alien species or whatever, whether they are from Earth, because I've obviously this is like an ant farm, right? Earth is basically the mother source of all life. It could be possible. And aliens are scattering themselves all throughout the entire universe, picking up all the minerals and proper earth, rocks, or whatever they need for life to exist in their own whatever atmosphere they need. And of course, we don't have a clue on how these people or humanoid types beings are. They could be humans, humans that left Earth. It could be humans that um, went out researching themselves on secret space missions. And I mean, would we ever hear about them? Of course not. No one's going to open up a YouTube channel and say, "Hi, back from Mars with all my photos and space missions, showed it all to my kids, my wife, my whole family, and prepared them of the dangers." These people are heroes, pioneers, the real pioneers that we will never, ever hear and or know the truth about because they'll remain hidden because they have to, like they were pieces of meat, and they're not. They're human beings, but programmed to destroy, I guess, programmed to do what they are programmed to do. You know, we hear often of MK Ultra, mind controlling. We think it's not real, that it's fake, but even here in my town, the Doria institution, the Canadian Holocaust, it happened. It happened here. We have family members in these areas of people that went through MK Ultra mind controlling. It's real. So they have been testing um, this. Imagine shooting, propelling um, organisms being propelled into oceans on other planets. Hmm. Could they survive in an asteroid? In ice, possibly, but not looking good because the testing was done with ice and seedlings, and it didn't turn out very good. So this is Cassini Crater around it, and this is that massive wall with all these lines there, and they're always there in the same places, of course. This is a massive haze that's over top of the surface that you can clearly see underneath. There's activity. They are mining on the moon. They are industrializing the moon, if not already done thousands of years ago. What are they doing? DNA manipulation? Who knows? They're doing something. And, you know, what's their goal? I really don't think that they are all that bad. You know, that's just my personal thought. This is the force, the ones helping the channel and the community obtain the big telescope. We're looking for $10,000 to go get a bigger telescope. We're going to make it, and we're going to be able to show everyone what's out there. Thanks for the support. Thanks for subscribing, guys. It means a lot.